Hi guys. Hey, I wanted to share with you a little modification I made to my 12-inch Atlas lathe. I've had this lathe for probably over 37 years, and I've done a number of mods to it over the years, and I've made a lot of parts with it. It's a great old machine. But one thing that I always kind of missed having was a way to control the depth when I'm drilling a hole with the tailstock. And I do quite a bit of precision drilling where I'm going to a specific point. So I saw this on the Atlas Lathe forum, and so I went ahead and did it myself, and I wanted to show you what I did. So I added a graduated dial here to the tailstock, so I can drill to a specific depth. And the way I did this was actually very simple. The dial that I used here is the same dial that's used on both the compound and the cross feed. So I went on eBay and I bought one. There's several of them on there all the time, it seems like. And what makes this really work is that the feed is the same. The feed rate, the pitch of the screw in the tailstock is the same as calibrated for the dial. So one turn of the hand wheel gives me 100 thousandths of depth in drilling. And the dial is graduated up to 100 thousandths for one revolution. So it works really good. So what I had to do to get it on, the dial here is a ½ inch long. So I had to remove some material from the collar at this end. This is the collar at the back of the tailstock. And I removed 250 thousandths off this. I chucked it up in the lathe and I turned that off on the rear face of it here. And then on the dial itself, I turned off just a little bit, about 50 thousandths off the back edge here. If you look at the standard dials, you'll see that it has a beveled edge on it right here. So basically, I machined that off on this one just to thin it a little bit, and then I put the hand wheel in the mill, and I milled off 200 thousandths off this end of the hub. I would have liked to have done that in the lathe, but having the handle on the end of the hand wheel was kind of problematic getting it set up in the lathe, so I just set it over here in my little mill, and I just milled it off there. But that gave me the clearance to put the dial on it. And that left, there's a keyway in here, and there's a Woodruff key that keeps the handle aligned, and by machining enough off the collar, that left the Woodruff key fully exposed for the handle to slip onto it. So it was pretty simple, really. A pretty simple way to do it. And once it was all done, I set up a dial indicator on the front of the ram here and zeroed out the dial and tested it using the dial indicator on the ram, and it matched up perfectly. I got 101 revolution, 100 thousandths on the dial, gave me 100 thousandths on the dial indicator. So it worked really good. Just a couple little things to note on the collar. As it's originally made, there's a slot in the face of it, and you take a special tool, and that's how you unscrew the collar out of the back of the tailstock. Well, after machining it down, I had machined away that slot. So what I did in place of that is I machined a notch. Hopefully you can see this here on the back side. I was seeing this notch, and that lets me use one of these spanner tools just to remove and and tighten up the collar as needed. So that's my little substitute way. And then the dials, the way these come from Atlas, they have a little tiny slotted screw so you can tighten down the collar where you want it. Well, I replace those on all of mine. I make these little thumb screws just using a Neural little piece of aluminum, and use a brass 8x32 screw, and then I just Loctite the two together. So I've done that as you can see, I've done that on all my dials here. Same thing on this one here too. And I've even done it over on my milling machine as well. So I made one of those for the tailstock here. So now I can loosen it, move this around to wherever I want to zero it. And I drilled a little tiny hole in the top of the collar right here, and that's just my indicator mark that I can use as an indicator point for lining up the dial. So that's it. It was a pretty simple job. I received the dial yesterday in the mail from eBay, and maybe about 2 hours worth of work, and I had the whole job done. So it worked out really good. I now have a way to precision drill to a specified depth, so it's consistent and repeatable, and really just adds to the versatility of the lathe. So anyway, hope you like that. I find it a very useful little modification, and maybe you will too. Hey, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.